here I am with Noble Sultai. My name is Mike Goldenberg, and this is a deck I've been playing for a little while in response to a lot of the unfair things I saw that was happening in Modern. What can beat Bridgevine, Vengevine, and what can beat Blue-White Control. And I found a deck that does pretty well against Blue-White Control, very good against Tron, and also does pretty well against the bridge decks. The key is Noble Hierarch, which accelerates mana for Scavenging Ooze, and also accelerates mana to drop Liliana the Veil quicker, which wins the control matchups. Anyway, here I am to start the MTGO Competitive League. Let's see how I do. On the die roll, which is always fun. Turn 1 Noble Hierarch or a turn 1 Thoughtseize. I do like this. I've been finding it's generally better to lead with a Noble Hierarch, especially when you have the extra mana, to play a turn 2 spell and use a 3 mana next turn. So what I can do here is I can do a drop Noble Hierarch and then untap Thoughtseize and drop a Scavenging Ooze, which accelerates our mana much faster than if I just did a Thoughtseize into a Scavenging Ooze. I also have the opportunity that way of playing Collective Brutality and Thoughtseize based on what it is that I see. And if my opponent decides to use a removal spell on Noble Hierarch, well, then Scavenging Ooze gets to live. And in that case, it's kind of like a Inquisition of Kozilek. So this is an interesting looking deck. I will start off with a Thoughtseize. Okay, so it gives spells Wither. Get rid of Snapcaster Mage. Chose to keep the islands of the Creeping Tar Pit in case they run Blood Moon. They have 4 cards in hand. 1, 2, 3, 4. So up to the... So now I can drop a Scavenging Ooze and start eating their Snapcaster Mage targets. Chose to spend my mana this way to hold up Abrupt Decay, so I can choose to either stop a Snapcaster Mage or kill a Soulscar Mage. Looks like they'll be opting. Okay, so thing to note, it does not look like my opponent is playing a Blood Moon deck. So I can note that for future games. Chose to get rid of the Bolt to make Snapcaster Mage in their hand a little bit worse rather than gain 1 life. I think making their cards worse is a better choice at the moment. Sure. So my opponent's last card is Snapcaster Mage, which they can snap opt. My plan is to hold this Abrupt Decay and protect Liliana for as long as I can. That Abrade from my opponent did some work. So, my opponent played around removal and made sure Liliana was dying regardless of the outcome. And unless I draw a Tarmogoyf, I don't think I'm in a great spot here. And that's lethal. Okay, so this is an aggro wizards deck. Countersquall is a possibility. I like the idea of Kalitas to potentially gain me some life. Cast Down is an interesting option, something I decided to the sideboard rather recently, just to try to get a little bit more removal spells that weren't Dismember. Seems like they get Hellbent decently quick. I'm not a big fan of Thoughtseize against a burn deck. I do really like Veil, and I do also really like Last Hope here. I don't think they run Blood Moon, but they might bring in some Grave Hate, which does make Traverse my one of worse. Languish is a possibility. I think it would completely wipe their board. I think one Countersquall is fine. I don't really like relying on blue mana. I have a feeling they're going to bring in be more creature-centric than spell-centric anyway. That's kind of the 60th card. I'm going to try to test it out over a Noble Hierarch right now. So some people have asked me, when they saw the list, why there's one Traverse in the 75, when traditionally I've ran more than that. The reason being is that it's kind of a flex spot between being the 23rd land and being another threat, because this deck does have a good number of threats, but I'd always like a little bit more. And Traverse is a great card when you have 3 Snapcasters, because early game you can feel free to go and get a land off of it, and then late game you can snap, Traverse, and get a couple threats in your hand. This hand looks perfect. Tarmogoyf, a way to protect him, and a removal spell. Opponent mulligans and puts a card on the bottom. Yeah, discard is one of the best things you can see against opponents who mulligan. So, not worried about the mana leak. Since I'm on the play, I can get Tarmogoyf down. I think I'll just take the burn spell. Although mana leak does have the highest ceiling. I'm going to approach this like a burn matchup. It might be wrong, but I kind of feel like this is a burn deck that runs Snapcaster Mage. Sure. They're holding Mana Leak up. They did top that last card, so they do have a card that they like. Let's play a tap land and swing in. I can't imagine a deck like this running a high-end threat like Karanos, but it is possible. Opponent let me resolve that, which is interesting. Must have been the card they put on top. Playing this pre-combat because when it gets mana leaked, it will grow Tarmogoyf. And generally how green-black X decks defeat blue-red decks, or any really burn decks, or any kind of decks that run a lot of lightning bolts, is to land a Tarmogoyf because he's very, very large. So my opponent seemed to go a little bit more control-heavy with the mana leak. I think that cost them that match. Also, their mulligan and my discard. Now coming back, going on the play, I might want to bring in a discard to try to keep up with the pacing of their pacing. Not sure I love that idea. But it is a possibility. Keep it the same way. I think I have plenty of 1-drops. It's a good hand. It's got turn 1 Noble Hierarch. Turn 2 hold up Countersquall. Well, that makes my hand a little bit worse. Fatal Push would be a perfect draw right now. So my options are hold up a protection spell, play a tracker to die. I think the best thing I can do here is hold up a Countersquall. Don't really care about Opt. I'm actually not even a big fan of Opt. I think Mishra's Bauble just does the same thing as Opt, just generally in a better manner. Okay. So I spent my turn to deal 2 damage to my opponent and protect my Noble Hierarch. I am aware they have a way of killing her anyway, but now I can land a Tarmogoyf safely. Also, I could choose to land Liliana, but it looks like they are holding up Mana Leak. I have to here decide what is a more valuable card in this matchup, Liliana or Tarmogoyf, and I actually think it's Tarmogoyf, so I'm going to play Liliana into a counterspell. Sure. Okay. Best possible draw for next turn is some sort of removal spell to pair with Tarmogoyf, or another land to be able to drop Liliana and Tarmogoyf. Hopefully at this point I have gotten rid of their removal spells and their counter spells. Landing Tarmogoyf is the most important thing I need to do here. Okay. This is not looking good at the moment. Oh, my opponent made a mistake. I thought they had one more mana open to hit with Grim Lavamancer. But I can't really block here, can I? I'll go down to 5. So my goal here is to block with Noble Hierarch, but I am dead anyway, so... If my opponent sees it, they have lethal. Yep. It's possible I approached that matchup incorrectly. Not sure I did. I think it's just a interesting deck. It attacks the meta in an interesting way. But yeah, falling down to 0-1 is never fun. Let's see how we do in round 2.